Star Tours announces the boarding of the Endor Express. All passengers, please prepare for immediate boarding.
Welcome to our show right here, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to T3PO Live, the celebratory 1K stream talking about Disney and Universal. Welcome, guys, to the show here today, right here. We have an excellent panel and excellent assemblage of topics, if I do say so myself. Let's go ahead and start getting them in here off of this Endor Express that we call T3PO Live. We have right here the amazing Barry Place 28. Let's see if we can do it. There you go. Now we got him on screen right there. Hello there, Bob. What is going on today?
Hey, not too much. You know, I feel like I've been here for 3 weeks now. Oh, wait, I haven't.
Wow.
Hey, everyone. Good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Oh, that's because we so love your presence there, Bob. You are absolutely welcome, open. Thank you so much here. But we've got some new guests here that we've never had on the channel right here, starting with Matt Ankney. Hey, what is going on there, Matt? How are you doing today, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Congratulations on 1K. It's awesome to be here during this moment with you guys.
Hey, thank you, because it's been quite the effort, and I did it with we have done it, honestly. This is really the more appropriate way to say that. We've done it with a lot of help and a lot of guidance, and honestly, it couldn't have been done without everybody here in this chat and to all of our subscribers. So thank you so much. But you know who really put us on the map and who really lit this whole thing ablaze right here? Let's go to John F. Trent, editor-in-chief of That Park Place, the website. What is going on here today, sir?
Yeah, thank you for having me. Congratulations on 1,000. Can we talk about that awesome intro music, man? That 80s synthesizer? That's awesome. That gets you pumped up and in the mood, doesn't it?
Right? It just gets you hyped. It gets you going, especially with those amazing visuals provided for by my brother, actually. For that globe right there, I think it just really gets you. It gets
cool.
The anticipation up. So yeah. Hopefully we live up to our amazing intro here on T3PO. But there's been quite a bit going on here in the world of theme parks for sure. I know we just got some theme park du jour over there on WW Pro's channel. So everybody coming over from there, thank you so much for joining us here. Seriously. Absolutely amazing panel that we just saw there, and thank you so much for the redirect. Here we go, right there. Deploy the legs per WW Pro right there. Actually, I think I have a sounder for that. Let me just see here. Yeah, here we go.
Wise words.
Yeah, wise words, and
Wise
it's all Star Wars thing because it is Star Wars Week right here. So. You got the Deploy the Garrison, you got the Star Tours, you got the Star Wars back there. I think we're doing pretty good. And obviously Bob with May the 4th there. So there you go. That's nice. And as part of Star Wars Week, I guess, remember Star Wars night tickets still on sale at Disneyland After Dark. And the reason why I put this up right here is because, well, they put 8 of these on this year, increasing from I don't remember what the previous years were, but it wasn't 8 nights. It was something like 5 or 6 nights. Bob, maybe you have a little bit more information on that I don't remember at the top of my head right now.
It was like 6 nights, and they added a couple more this year, and then they upped the prices and took some things away. So there may be a reason why we are not selling out. And I mean, obviously we've sold out for the month of May, which is nice to see that, but they've taken some things away that have made people upset, like the fireworks.
Yeah, no fireworks here. They have Fire the Rising Moons, which is basically as part of the regular fireworks presentation for Disneyland, they have John Williams music playing in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. By the way, it took them 5 years to do that. I don't know why it took them so long, because the launch point has been over Star Wars Galaxy's Edge ever since it was started to be constructed.
Is there an excuse why they don't have the fireworks? Do they ever say that? Like it's a fire hazard or something like that?
No, they've had fireworks shows at all the other After Dark events, but this year they decided to take those away. And a lot of people are like, so let me get this right. You want to pay us to pay more money and get less for it. So it's one of the disappointing things. And there's no parade or anything like that, like they do for some of the other After Dark events. So it's just kind of it's kind of like what you were talking about earlier, Matt. It's kind of a shot to the gut there, and it's unfortunate they keep doing things like this. Now, don't get me wrong, the event is fun and I enjoyed it, and I'm going tonight. But I'm just kind of disappointed that they're taking things away but making us pay more.
Right.
In my area, when they eliminate fireworks shows, they're typically replaced with a drone show. Do they ever do that?
No. So in California, they're not doing drone shows. They're only doing those in other parks right now. And there's, I think, some issues with the drones, especially in California. However, no, they, in fact, projections. Normally they'll do some sort of projections. They are doing projections onto the castle right now and onto Main Street, but the only projections they're doing this year is red or blue. And on Main Street, they actually do have the symbols for, the Empire and for, the Resistance or Rebels, but they did so much more last year. And so everyone's like, why did they do so much more last year and less this year? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
They can't even fake it anymore, can they?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know who's making these choices. Unfortunately, it's something that, because to be honest with you, I went a couple weeks ago and I'm going to go again tonight, Star Wars night, and I'm looking forward to doing some of the things I didn't get to do last time. I mean, they obviously have some amazing photo opportunities. They have some really good food there, but some of the choices they've made aren't so great.
So this is interesting that you brought up drones at Disneyland and when those might be coming. I can tell you right now, I'm trying to load up this site right here. Let's see if it loads up. This is the flight. Essentially, this marks out all the territories in which you can fly over safely and which you can't. Let's see if the map loads. Sometimes this site is a little bit weird and you have to load it up way in advance. Anyway, there have been issues with drones being used at Disneyland Resort specifically, and even Walt Disney World to some extent, but it's not quite as severe. Disneyland has a flight restriction over it, and that bars any flights from being conducted, including those of personal use drones or drones for shows and so forth. Yeah, this site's weird. I don't know why, but yeah, there's a no-fly zone, and so this no-fly zone prevents the use of drones. Now, it's kind of an interesting history here because there was a time when they actually got an exemption for that in order to actually use drones over their park. Unfortunately, they let that lapse, and I don't think they got renewed. I know there have been some efforts to take away this flight restriction, which is interesting. So that actually might actually work out in Disney's favor, at least when it comes to drones, but also that that invites a lot of tours from, let's say, like I think Newport and those kind of beach cities have some tours that fly over, and they include Disneyland in their flight path. Interestingly enough, there used to be a helipad in Tomorrowland upon Disneyland's opening back in the 50s. That's kind of an interesting little tidbit there. Maybe
the idea, I don't know, growing up visiting Magic Kingdom, Florida, that's what my Midwestern family gravitated to. Visiting Epcot Center, I always thought the idea as a kid was, and pardon me for just interjecting here, the idea as a kid was to, when you go to Disney World, when you go to Disneyland, when you go to Epcot, as a kid, you see something, you experience something that you do not see anywhere in your regular, average, everyday life. It's not at the theater. It's not an experience at mini golf or whatever a kid does, or go-karts or whatever it is, or your local smaller amusement park. And so I would think that if, let's say, Walt Disney was alive today, he would want to have not only drones everywhere in a very creative, innovative way that enhances your experience constantly, but the best ones, the ones that have lights on them, have their own sounds. Like he would probably want to recreate Star Wars battles at night, right? With, let's say a Star Destroyer 20 feet long, that's a drone. I work in the music industry, and inside the confines of like a hockey rink in the last few years, bands have become really innovative in their presentation and their performance using drones. And 2 years ago, Madison Square Garden was turned into an underwater aquarium type thing. and they had really large, like 20-foot long whales, which are just a series of drones put together with fabric and draped up to look like a whale. And they were like basically swimming, floating above the audience. So this is just what I think of, not only fireworks, but imagine if you could have drones that shot fireworks out. I mean, just like, let's have fun here, but it's just an era of no fun. It's an era of no fun, no imagination. And
so I've had the opportunity to be in Disneyland Paris for the drone show they have at the castle, as well as the one they had over at Walt Disney Studios. And it's amazing what they can do. And of course, I've seen the ones over at Universal Studios, Hollywood, above Hogwarts. And so I think that they would love to do that over here in California. I would love to see it too, but unfortunately they can't at the moment. But I think it's something that they've done at other parks, and they know that they are successful with it. I mean, look at the Main Street Electrical Parade that we had over in Paris. Is that what you're showing right now? I mean, look at that. Is amazing with the drone.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they would love to do something like that. Just at the moment in California, we're not able to, but who knows? Maybe they'll eventually be able to. So I think that the imagination is there, and Disney wants to do it. It's just they have not been able to.
It's the will that is most profound. But you know who has all the willpower in the world? Right here. Lou Osmond's goes to what is going on there,
whatsoever, and you know better. But but I will tell you that all of this, of course, happened after 9/11 when they didn't want somebody flying something nasty into these places.
That's very true.
When you talked about Universal, back in the day when I was doing a show at Universal, they had a sudden problem, which was that the people living up on the hill were having their garage door openers trigger without them intending them to do so. And they realized it was all the radio frequencies being used at Universal between the trams and the shows, and then radios on the sets. And somebody called in the FCC, and they found over 150 different discrete channels being used and said, no, you guys can't do that. So we had to do all kinds of stuff to block it so it wouldn't interfere. So I would imagine if you're going to control these drones, you got to get all that worked out to fly over the valley and make that happen.
That's a fair point. That is definitely something that needs to be addressed here for sure. And you know who will be having drones? Interestingly enough, now that we're on the topic of it, and we might as well just go to it. Universal Studios.
Oh yeah,
Hollywood, or not Hollywood, but Florida. Universal Orlando Resort over there. The Next Level Lagoon show will feature 228 fountains that reach heights up to 131 feet, incredible 4K projection mapping, and original composition featuring newly arranged scores meticulously crafted to each scene, and more than 600 drones. This is part of the Cinesational Symphonic Spectacular show that they just actually announced yesterday, which will feature all of these amazing franchises that you actually see at the very right of your screen right there. We've got franchises
with the music from them.
Yes, with the music from them. Mm-hmm.
That'll be a fun show.
Oh, I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic. We've seen these franchises incorporated in some shows in Universal's past, but all together like this, I think is really fun. Also, to note the inclusion of stuff like How to Train Your Dragon, Super Mario Brothers, obviously, in the lead up to Epic Universe's opening right here. It's going to be really important to hype up those franchises as much as possible. But this thing looks absolutely phenomenal. The logo, it's kind of interesting because people were kind of this is the logo that they have for it. People were saying, that's very Disney. And so people were making the obvious comparisons between this and Luminous, the Epcot Lagoon show that just debuted to replace Harmonious, interestingly enough. Now, what is profound about this as well, they've had this kind of lagoon show platform in years prior. However, it was damaged, or a lot of it was, during a hurricane, I believe in 2021. And so, unfortunately, it's been down ever since. That being said, though, they're using this to really improve the infrastructure of their show. If I'm not mistaken, they're upgrading the actual fountains themselves, so they have some oscillations so that they move. They're also improving the projectors. Like, they've replaced the projectors, which were about 3 feet high, with stuff that's like 6 feet high. I mean, these things are massive. So very clear images on these water screens and so forth with drones. I think this is going to be an awesome show. So
this is like in the middle of the park, kind of, right?
Yeah.
Where the
Yeah, so Universal Studios Florida is really weird because you have an entrance corridor, and then that you can quickly get to this lagoon, and you kind of travel around the park,
right?
In that kind of around that lagoon. So it was kind of weird visiting for the first time last year. Interestingly enough, this lagoon that you walked around, but nothing actually happened, and it's because they were getting everything ready post hurricane in preparation for this show. So really, really cool
You still
stuff.
have a fireworks show here, right?
Yeah. Interestingly, they show fireworks up there, so there's going to be some pyrotechnics apparently, and there's going to be fireworks at Epic Universe as well.
Well, and what's confusing about this picture, of course, that's a projection of Hogwarts, not the real thing. Otherwise, this would be islands and not the studio park. So,
Yes.
and of course, that lagoon originally was where the old original Jaws ride was. Because that whole area that's the Harry Potter area there used to be Amity.
Diagon Alley. Used to be the old Jaws attraction. However, Harry Potter isn't left out as well. Apparently, let me see if I can bring it up. Yes,
Yeah.
It will have its own projection mapping going on, or a projection show.
With 4 different endings, each one for one of the houses. A Slytherin ending, and so they go on. When they have those projections at that park during Christmas and during Halloween and whatever, it's like every 20, 30 minutes it lights up for 5 or whatever it is. So the fact that they're going to make them 4 different ones rather than the same one all night long over and over, obviously will add to the.
Oh, there's Gryffindor.
Yeah.
The Hollywood version has also been doing the Dark Art show that's incorporated projections similar to what you're seeing right here with their version of the Hogwarts Castle. And theirs, interestingly enough, to your point, Matt, they have drones in that show in California. But unfortunately, they can't replicate the same thing at Disneyland Resort because of that no-fly zone. So Universal has all the fun, apparently. And it doesn't stop there. They will be debuting as well a mega movie parade. We've been keeping up with this a little bit on That Park Place. We've known about some of the IPs that will be featured. Ghostbusters, notably, is the biggest inclusion here.
That's going to be awesome. A 16-foot Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
16-foot Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
They better be selling. They need to be selling the oh my gosh, what are they called? The guns. Like if you're not selling, they're not selling guns. That is a massive mistake.
Proton
packs. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, they need to be selling those so you can like shoot them or something.
Yes,
at it. Like even if it's like a light or something, like a laser.
Oh, that's such a good.
When you first see the Ghostbusters, you have no idea what they're going to say. You have no idea what's going to walk. That's the genius of that film and that character, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. That God bless that franchise and that film. It's awesome. Yeah.
Oh, it's
so much fun.
It's so good right here. We
never had the brand of Stay Puft Marshmallows on the West Coast. So when the original movie came out, it was like, well, that must be something. That must be a New York thing, and it was. So,
yes, absolutely, for sure. The parade will be Universal Orlando's biggest daytime parade ever. Nearly 100 performers and 13 new floats, including a 16-foot Stay Puft Marshmallow Man atop the Ghostbusters float. And a finale with a gyrosphere, raptor, and Tyrannosaurus Rex aboard the Jurassic World float. This is looking really, really good.
Cool.
And oh, man, I want to take a moment to highlight this because, man, we've seen Disney really cut back on the entertainment lately. It is bizarre. Now,
is it?
Well, they have such a rich history of entertainment. That's the only reason why I say that. But go ahead, John.
I mean, from what it looks like, I mean, I know Valley talks about this quite a bit, is that their real only moneymaker is the park. So I feel like we've been seeing this kind of trend over the couple of years. Is they've been cutting costs. They have reduced crowds, and they're trying.
They got rid of Streetmosphere at the studio, right? All those people of Hollywood that used to be putting you in the movies, that went away. Before that, a lot of the great stuff that originally opened with Epcot went away. The Commedia dell'arte players in Italy, and the Japanese guy that made little statues out of taffy, and except for the festivals where they brought back certain things, that wasn't happening. So
it's Magic Kingdom used to have a nighttime parade. Disneyland used to have a nighttime parade. Had a nighttime parade consistently for, I don't know, 30 some
starting with
years,
Main
and
Street
then-
Electrical Parade.
Right, in 1972, upon the opening of Walt Disney World, Disneyland felt a little left out, so boom, the Main Street Electrical Parade was born, and that ran consistently up until about, what, 1990, was it?
Well, when they put in
was
that
it
other
6?
awful, terrible, lousy, what could I call it nicely?
Light tragic, I believe, is the term we use.
Gaylords of the Dance, I called it. Anyway.
Boy. If you ever wanted to see Disney go Tinker Bell and Riverdance, that was your show right there.
Oh,
I mean,
man,
that
was it bad? It was famously bad.
Light magic
They
was
tried to
terrible.
mash up. They tried to mash up Riverdance with like a.
With somebody who never had kids' vision of what a family looked like.
Yeah. So
exactly.
The let me see if I can
It
find
was
some
like
stuff
all
on
those
it.
bad toy commercials that play at 2 a.m. with, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of the toy commercials in America were actually shot in Germany, and they used American service families' kids to be the ones playing with the American toys because they could pay them a straight buyout rather than owe them residuals like they would in the U.S.
So the whole thing about light magic was that it was the worst assemblage of ideas ever. They did. We'll get to those lights on Main Street very quickly here, but light magic, in their wisdom, in their infinite wisdom, the Imagineers at the time felt that Main Street Electrical Parade, it's hokey, it's got that symphonic score that was done in the 70s, and it's got Christmas lights. Let's just get rid of that. Let's do something really spectacular for.
And we can
everybody.
sell
So-
the light bulbs for about a year as the last
Yes.
bits of it.
Yes,
I still have a
if
couple of
people.
those somewhere.
So people, so we only have 18 videos on the channel, I believe. One of those videos is about the Disney Movie Club, and the thumbnail says "Glow Away Forever." That's a reference to the promotion for the closing of the Main Street Electrical Parade. But we see it before it glows away forever and never comes back to Main Street. Well, it did eventually, but they sold the light bulbs for it, which was a big to-do back in the day. Anyway.
And
they
by
were
the
going to-
way,
Oh, please.
when the genre guys did Hercules, we discovered that for the New York premiere of Hercules, they brought the entire electrical parade to New York to run it down the street in front of the theater,
Yes.
which just amazed me. Like, what's one got to do with the other? But it was like, well, we're gonna do it right. In Times Square, suddenly we had the Main Street Electrical Parade for one night only.
That parade.
Here you go.
Awesome.
Here's the Tinkerbell.
Oh,
These are the
no,
Pixies.
really? This is
And these things are if you see them up close, they're very scary looking because they have prosthetics on to make them look more pixie like.
I see.
But with the combination of low lighting and so
Defined
forth, they
as
look
chubby.
absolutely horrific. Yeah, they look really scary. I pull up photos, but I don't know.
Oh, and the
It
music
might
was
freak out the audience a little
horrendous,
bit. We don't want to have our
The Main
viewers go away
Street-
here.
The Main Street Electrical Parade was the highlight of your day as a kid at the Magic Kingdom. It was the end of an amazing day that you do all these things, and then the park kind of stops and they congregate. It gets dark, so you have that transition. It's a very dynamic moment. It's one of my favorite memories ever of those little lightning bug cars going, erratically down the way and stopping and beeping and honking. And there's that song that's kind of infectious in your head. And it wasn't performance based like this. It didn't have actors in it. And I think this is way more
It had a
complicated.
few. It had the guy being Pete,
Had a
Pete's
few.
Dragon,
Yeah,
and there was a woman on top as the Blue Fairy. I think I remember.
right. Yes.
So in Light Magic, the characters come out, and you'll see them in sleepwear. And it's like, why are they in sleepwear? The idea was that the Pixies woke up the characters who were sleeping woke them out of bed, and had them join this whole thing. Now,
Well, it is nighttime.
And in this day and age,
it's
if you
it
woke up in the middle of the night and a pixie was in your bedroom, you'd pull out your gun and blast them, wouldn't you?
Blue.
And we're demonetized. No, I'm joking. No, but
Your
seriously,
Stay Puft
probably.
marshmallow gun. How's that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So-
pro compact.
And not your Luger used by a famous German leader in World War II.
No, oh no. So, so the story is very convoluted. They didn't have, I think, set up for it either. So a lot of people didn't know what was going on and had to be informed what was going on later after the fact.
I would have no
but-
idea what was happening.
Mhm.
You
So
told
this,
me.
and you can see this is supposed to be a parade. However, you can see it's stopped in one position, and that's because the idea was that you had these 4 massive floats, and they were unbelievably expensive, to the point that there was actually a lawsuit between the fabricators and Disney for how much it was costing and how much time it was taking. That pushed back everything severely. Disney had to take over those floats and construct them fully. That pushed back pushed back their what is it? Their rehearsals and so forth,
Epic
which
is playing
really,
tricks on Mickey Mouse there.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Mickey Mouse is going to have to
I'm
pull out
trying to
that
remember,
Luger.
Vash, was this the first one where they stopped and did dancing in the street and then moved the parade on, or was that the earlier things like Party Gras and State Fair and those shows, which were great parades? Great parades.
Well, that's interesting that you bring that up, Lou, because the idea was for this show that it would incorporate the aspects of those previous shows. Like, okay, well, previously we had a parade that stopped and had a dance party. Let's go ahead and do that in this show. Let's do like confetti that we did for a couple of our previous performances. So in this
On Main
case, they
Street
used
from behind the
mylar
tops of the
confetti.
buildings. Yeah.
Oh,
I will say they keep throwing the confetti, but no one's flying. Doesn't pixie dust let you fly?
That's true. That's an astute point. Yeah, so they used mylar confetti, which was a problem because in order to clean up after this show, they had like I think 4 huge vacuum cleaners.
Yeah.
Because the static
that were-
electricity of the Mylar made it stick to the street.
Yes, and
Yes.
it was
So a
That
regular
was tough.
broom wouldn't get it. You had to have those big, huge vacuum things. Yeah.
we talked about drones before, and there was going to be a drone component to this at one point, at least with like a flying Tinkerbell. Obviously, the lawyers were like, "Nope, can't do that," because I think before they didn't have drones in the sense that we think of them now. It was more like a, like a model helicopter, basically,
Yeah.
and that didn't work out. So they were going to have like a pyrotechnic effect. So the idea was that they drew a string from Town Square to the hub, so it ran down Main Street, and then they would attach a firework to that, and that would be Tinkerbell, and that would be Tinkerbell lighting the way for the show to actually commence in front of you as it stopped in Main Street. Well, that didn't work out either because that pyrotechnic soon went off course, hit the ground, and then sparked out, which people who believe that was Tinkerbell, like little kids, for example, that was an upsetting thing for them.
She crashed. Oh no!
Again, light tragic, folks.
Therapy.
Every definition it applies to this show.
All of this was compounded by the fact that it was at night. Because those other parades where they stopped and people were pulled out of the crowd and danced with the people, they could kind of see where they were going. But in the dark, getting guests to interact with all of this stuff where everything was a little hard to see, that was just asking for injuries.
They're running around like at high speed. I can only imagine if like my 3-year-old like kind of got away from me there for a little bit, just getting
Exactly.
yeah.
run
then how
over
do you-
there.
And then the parade starts to move and they say, okay, go back to mommy. Well, where's mommy? I can't see her. It's dark.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's see if I can find the Pixies. We're gonna do it, folks. We're gonna do the light magic.
Oh, is there actual
Pixie
evidence of this?
costume. Yes. So let's see. Disneyland.
The
You
two
got to see
times
these.
I saw that parade, I was back in the Small World area rather than up on Main Street, and it didn't work there either, even though that's a wider, easier spot to do something like this.
So you can see. Let's
Why
see
is there
if
like
I can.
a giant spider web? That's also kind of weird.
Well, it was supposed to be like firefly paths or something, but that didn't
Oh,
work
really?
either. Yeah.
It looked like a giant like spider web.
Oh, yeah.
From,
Well, it was
Lord
supposed
of
to
the
be this
Rings, and the
enchanted
spider's going to come out and
forest,
eat you.
you know.
You can see some of the prosthetics that were applied here. They look very frightening, and what
Yeah.
they were trying to do during the show was having children actually. This is the screen portion of the show. We'll get to that in a moment. But they were trying to have kids dance with the characters, and obviously it's like really dark. But you can see these pixies that look absolutely horrifying. So it's like, oh, that's not going to work. It was just they attempted to rush this. They attempted to put on something that was, what they thought was better than the electrical parade itself, and it just didn't work out. There's also a film portion of this to kind of go off of what Fantasmic had, and it's like pop-up screens, for example.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about this pastiche of what families supposedly look like. Imagine, guys, if you want to try and imagine what that part was like, think of all of the very worst Kodak commercials you've ever seen in your life and make them worse. All of those
Kodak.
smiling-
Kodak, what's Kodak?
well, those smiling kids at picnic.
Oh, I know what
in the
Kodak is.
backyard. Oh,
Make them worse. How can you do that? That's the punchline. You can't make them worse.
you can have them directed by people who didn't have kids and never would, and thought
I
that's
see.
what a happy family
I
looked
see.
like,
All right.
and had certain
This is-
interests in the people in the movie. But I'll leave it there.
So
That was
I
so
will.
weird. They just
I
showed
will
like a
say-
mashup of all of their
There,
movies
that
there.
that little
There
bit
you
is
go.
kind of
Yes.
what I'm
There
talking
you go.
about.
That
Yep,
little bit.
yep. You're right, Lou. That's exactly it, right?
Yeah.
Kids, look over there. You're so excited. Just keep. It's
Look,
perfect.
here, yes.
Say wow again, Jimmy. We'll slow that down. Say wow again. Oh
And
my
putting
God.
aside all the other issues, if that's the content, what is the audience doing? Are they looking at it, or are they looking off stage somewhere? What do those kids see? I want to see it too.
Now
Are they
here's the
supposed to be
big.
watching this parade, and you're supposed to be like
They're just
emulating
supposed
that?
to be watching the wonder and magic of it all, whatever that means.
Yeah, so you can see the screen drop down right there. That was incorporated into the floats themselves. Now,
Can you see
bad
it from
thing
both
about
sides, though?
that,
Is it projected on both sides?
project on both sides.
Yes.
And maybe that image was no, I think those images were proper on both sides. However, there's 4 floats of these. Like there's 4 floats. There's 4 versions of what you're seeing here playing out throughout the street. The problem though is that a parade is supposed to take the entire length of the parade route. When these are stopped like this, then you have these screens that are kind of, smaller or cropped in from these floats. Very few could actually see the visual presentation that was going on.
Yeah.
You
So
can see the
I
other
can
floats
imagine
there.
this created a lot of. Oh, there they are. They're dancing with the kids right now.
Right, exactly.
I can imagine people like running over there though, or like you can see like a mob forming potentially.
It's
Yeah,
like
Right
when-
over there.
it's like
And the
when-
music, guys, the music was like drunken bagpipers.
Oh,
It was bad. So
I gotta
I will
go.
tell you. The company I was working for back in the day actually sponsored the Light Magic parade, and for them it was and I'll go back. It's Vaughn's grocery company was the one that actually sponsored it, and I was working at
Yes.
the corporate office, and so they actually had an employee preview night. We got to go to it. It was we were all excited. The company was, just like, what's going to be the next best thing since, the Main Street Electrical Parade. And I got to be honest with you, visually, it was cool kind of visually, but other than that, the music wasn't very good. The screens actually, if you're standing in front of the float, you can see the screen projections okay. That wasn't a problem. The problem is that when they're taking their time, they start to go by you and then they stop and you're like, oh, I can't see the float down there.
Yeah.
It was neat because you could see it as it passed you and you could see that they were dancing and they're all kind of similar in their own respect, but it just, it didn't have that magic and flair like the Main Street Electrical Parade, did. And so I think a lot of us went back, to work and went, not so sure a company should have sponsored this one. And of course it only lasted the one quick season. And it was very disappointing. Like
One
you said,
season.
if you could see the characters up close. Yes, the prosthetics did look a little scary, but it just didn't have that fun magic flair that Main Street Electrical Parade had, and especially when it came to the music. Because for me, even though seeing the Main Street Electrical Parade floats, I mean, they're always so cool, right? The way they lit up at night, but at the same time, it was that quirky music that was just amazing. That really got you in the mood, and the music here really didn't get you into the mood for this parade, which is unfortunate. However, hey, eventually, they did get a really good one. That was Paint the Night, and I'm hoping that one eventually comes back. But that's been, the best thing they've had since Main Street Electrical Parade is Paint the Night.
What kind of benefit did the grocery company get from sponsorship? Like, because I don't see it here at all.
Nothing.
Oh, it's just okay.
It was they were promoting on their paper bags and plastic bags in the grocery stores, and then of course they had stuff all over the place, and so they were the main sponsor, but really it didn't pay off. In fact, I think they were disappointed that they actually did it.
Okay.
Here's what go ahead. Real quick. Here's what I think is the problem with exactly this. Main Street itself is a venue. Main Street is a thing that it looks like in this presentation performance, they lost faith in Main Street. They lost faith in how that's itself a stage, and they just wanted to recreate a ride or a theater running down Main Street. Mm-hmm. That looks like that was their major flaw in their plans, is that, like you said, you want to be able to have a parade go by. You get to enjoy every single element of each float, of each thing. But then at the same time, you step back, you look down the street, you take in the whole, and you just kind of go back and forth from that. And you can't get that here, I guess, is the problem.
Well, and just so you know, it started from Small World, came down to Main Street.
Right.
So they did do that. It just stopped in sections.
It stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah, it stopped.
Is that normal for parades, though? Like, I feel like they do that with no, they do that for like Thanksgiving Day parade now. There's like the Macy's whole stage and stuff, and Macy's and all those.
The Rose Bowl parade on.
Yeah.
Well, even the Disney Channel night they recently had, the After Dark Disney Channel night, they actually had a parade that came down from it's Small World to Main Street, and the same thing. They stopped in certain sections where they actually did dancing and stuff, to High School Musical and Zombies and things like that. But they don't do that a whole lot. It seems like most of the time the parades are just going consistently down the pathway.
Yeah, and that is the kind of traditional parade format, at least for the parks. Now, in other venues, obviously, they do a few other things in order to put on whatever production that they're putting on. In the parks, though, you want a parade to run down the parade route and not stop in order to increase capacity for that parade. That was the problem with this parade, was that this was their nighttime parade that everybody was staying in the park to see. However, only a few could see it because it only performed in 2 locations along the entire parade route. So that they got into some real trouble there for sure. I know that upon the annual pass holder preview for this, that they actually sold tickets for. Paul Pressler, the then president of the Disneyland Resort, came on the line and said, so we're gonna be doing a dress rehearsal for you all, and everybody was like, what? And because the implementation of technology, it was really groundbreaking ahead of its time. However, they bit off a little bit more than they could chew in that capacity, because upon the parade reaching Main Street, not all of the parade floats were actually were making their mark, and so that was not allowing the computer to proceed with the rest of the performance. And so, like, the opening loop that played for this thing, which was really kind of annoying, especially with bagpipes and so forth, played over and over and over and over.
Oh,
and over
it sure did. Oh, man.
Were you there, Lou?
I was. Oh, the music. Oh, God.
It was not good from what I understand.
It was like you expected the Headless Horseman and not a funny one to come riding through slowly.
Why bagpipes? Like, who's into bagpipes?
Because it was that whole river dance period,
I do like bagpipes,
Yes, so I have the answer for that one. It was Michael Eisner who actually went to a performance of Riverdance and was so blown away by it that he kind of remembered that. And so I think in the days following, he went down to what Imagineering was cooking up with this light magic performance, and he was like, Pixies, they're Irish, right? and he was the
like
one
more
that said
cowbell. It was more bagpipes, you know?
Yeah, he was the one that insisted that they do a Riverdance type production for this specific show, just because he had just seen Riverdance.
Because
Kind of
our
how Michael
kids
Eisner
in
worked.
bad makeup with bad music will be just as entertaining as those professional Irish dancers I saw on Broadway, right?
Yes.
Was there a jazz portion?
No jazz portion,
Jazz would
thankfully.
require improvisation. We don't do improvisation in these things. Sorry.
You'll see these lights and these fiber optic effects in the actual windows of Main Street that they were installed for this specific show at great expense, because they found out when they were trying to retrofit these initially that the buildings that were constructed back in 55 were falling apart. So they spent a ton of money to refurb and rehab these buildings for the long haul, and also incorporate these lights.
And
They
also
couldn't-
make the structure so that those swing up light arms that were on tops of the buildings for later street shows
Yes.
had something to rest on that wasn't going to fall apart.
Right. Not like those pesky light towers on the ground floor. No, these were the ones that swung up over the roofs of Main Street there. And they couldn't replicate, though, either the lifting light towers nor this fiber optic effect on the Small World side of things. So
No.
you were really kind of getting a reduced show.
There was nothing to hide it behind. And I don't think people understand, to make these things, they're heavy. I remember watching them dig the pits for those two huge light towers for Fantasmic. They went down a long, long way to make a foundation strong enough to hold that thing.
Yeah.
Just huge holes in the
So you can
street.
find some footage of those Fantasmic light towers, because they're actually pretty cool. But yeah, it was all about, okay, let's here we go. Here we go. I got a little bit of something here. Let's see if I can put that on screen. You can see some of those lighting towers. Those light towers are actually, they come up from the ground in order to
From
wow.
underground.
Oh wow! So
And
they-
that's at a lower, it goes much higher than that.
Yes,
That's
much higher.
where it is on the ground when the guys that are going to work it climb into it, and then it goes way up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No,
Yep.
I was there on the press junket for the opening of Fantasmic, and they took us down underneath on the island where all the pumps were. Where the pumps were actually over next to the Mark Twain dock in a whole separate building with hoses going through to make the three Sony Lumiere screens. There you go. But that's not even at the top. That's about halfway.
Yeah, these are huge. The infrastructure required for Fantasmic was very impressive. It modified the entire river at that point. So they were looking to do the same along the parade route, and they just never got there. They spent way too much on these, like I said, these massive floats for light magic that were technologically very advanced. You can see a little some of the production photos. When
you see it like that,
where they
it
were in
looks
storage.
like all those pre-Rose Parade remotes that they do to show you the floats being bedecked with their flowers and stuff like that in those warehouses that are in Pasadena.
I think every single one of these floats had thousands of miles of fiber optic effects actually installed within them. You had obviously the built-in screens, speakers, all kinds of stuff in order to make this production go, and it just never worked out. And so, I mean, that's light. That's why we call it light tragic, folks. It took away the Main Street Electrical Parade. All those annual pass holders who saw that first performance were like, they were chanting Electrical Parade at the very end there. And they quickly went to City Hall to try to get their money back, because it was rough. It did not go well at all. Fortunately, though, times have changed, and I think Universal, with their announcements yesterday, I think they're going to be able to position themselves quite nicely upon the opening of a symphonic spectacular, and also that amazing mega movie parade, I think, is going to be really, really cool, especially with all these franchises. I mean, they really have a nice repository of characters now. And again, this is all to augment. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say they were doing stories about, got to be about 3 months ago, about them searching out and finding the right year Cadillac to buy from some collector and then convert into the Ectomobile for this parade. But aside from that, we haven't heard much. We heard there was something, but when you figure the amount of time that they must be rehearsing at 2 a.m. To get this stuff to all be ready by then, it's a pretty good job of surprise.
Yeah, I mean, it's apparently this is going to be a huge production. Like we said before, I mean, 100 performers, that's a lot. That's a lot of...
and 13 new floats. That means new from the ground up. That means a chassis that you can convert to other things some year down the road, the way that they reused them at Disney over and over again with different buildings built on top of them and stuff.
It's a great investment in the future, both on the parade side and on the lagoon side as well. I believe, we went over to the stats before here, but 228 fountains. Again, some of them going up 131 feet tall right there, 4K projection mapping, 600 drones. They're really making investment into their entertainment future, which is great. I bring up Disney because Disney's really been cutting back a lot recently. Like, Bob, the Hyperion, it's still closed, right? We haven't seen anything since Roger, the musical.
This is called Bellagio Eat Your Heart Out.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely a wasted space, and I wish they would do something, because I think that that's just that's an area where they could actually have people watching a show, and people love the shows there. I mean, yeah, some
and it's
of them.
A people eater at, what is it? 2,000 seats, 2,100 seats.
2,000, 1,985 to be exact.
Right. So there's a lot of things they could do. They just haven't, and hopefully we'll hear. I mean, I was hoping to hear by now that they were going to do something for the summer, and there's nothing. They're not bringing Rogers the Musical back.
Well, they haven't got any hit movies to make a show out of anymore.
Well, true. But it's crazy, because when I look at this picture that you're showing here on screen, I mean, it looks like World of Color to me on steroids for Universal. It's crazy. So,
it's quite a bit there. Also, too, what's really interesting is that I think it's a way that the parks could really augment their offerings right now, especially when it comes to the lack of new attractions. Now, we know stuff is coming, apparently, as part of the $60 billion that they've allocated towards the parks. And that's interesting, too, because that's what we were going to talk about before right here, the $60 billion bet. And the interview goes on to interview Josh D'Amaro, the head of the Parks Experiences and Products, or just Experiences division now for the Walt Disney Company. Again, this is a huge division, folks, that is really driving pretty much, or fueling, everything that the Walt Disney Company is actually doing. You heard the statistic on WW Pro's channel that 70% of the Walt Disney Company's profit comes from the Experiences division now. And I believe that was incorporated into this article right here from CNBC. You can see right there, total revenue, but 70% of its operating income. Like I said, I mean, everything that the parks or that Disney, frankly, wants to do comes from the parks division itself. So that's why it's really important to maintain this. What's
when
really
you're losing over $1 billion in your movies.
Well, yes,
which
yes,
don't
true.
have enough IP residual effect to be worthy of a decent attraction in your parks, which is where all the decent attraction in the parks used to come from.
And we've seen how the parks have increased the amount of earnings that they've generated. Like, for example, how much money they actually take in. So they've been like increasing prices and reducing operating costs, including reducing portion sizes. Let's say the foods that they sell, reducing the quality of some of their merch, but increasing those prices in reaction to both the inflation and obviously the need to earn as much as possible from this division. So, as they funnel money out of this division and put it towards these other places, the parks kind of get left behind. And that's kind of why I wanted to bring up entertainment, at least for right now, because this is a low cost way of at least injecting something into the parks and giving people a reason to buy annual passes or buy Magic Keys or buy tickets, and yet they don't even do that, and it's really bizarre. Because there were strategies implemented at a darker time in the company's history back in the 90s in which they did do that, and yet we don't see that here.
So you mentioned that it's a low cost strategy, but is it really that low? Because you obviously like to bring in a lot of we're looking at what Universal was saying, 100 cast members. Like are those people full-time employees? How do you pay those people, etc.? And then how often are you doing the show? Do you need multiple shifts, or is it the same people doing it throughout the entire day, or do you have people that come in and maybe do the morning shift, and then you have the people coming in and doing the evening shift? So those costs do add up. So I'm not super familiar with this, but is this really a low cost strategy?
Well, the average attraction cost, big attraction, has cost anywhere between, I would say, $200 million to $500 million or so. I mean, the averages for these things really do ramp up to that degree. Let me get Lou back in here. Sorry about that. So, yes, the ongoing costs are expensive. There's no question, especially when you have a bunch of actors and so forth. However, at least allocating that amount of capital to constructing an attraction in the various quarters that they do, when you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars versus maybe thousands per day, I understand that there's obviously an ongoing cost that is expensive, but it's when you factor in development costs and so forth and construction and all of that, I think it is
still cheaper.
Yeah. Sorry, somebody was going to say something.
Plus, it probably gives you I'm not super familiar with this. I know Valiant's probably a little bit more familiar because his wife does all of the theatrical stuff. But you obviously could also do something for a year and then keep the same people and retrain them, kind of like maybe a Broadway show or something like that. When you bring in a new performance or something like that, but you keep all the same people and they can just kind of, because they're already the athletic, they can do all that stuff and they're just having to learn a new routine, maybe.
Yeah. So that's true. Usually the cast for any of these shows are cast specifically for that show so that they get really good at those performances. And obviously there's a cost to develop these shows and so forth. I'm not saying that there's not. It's just when you're talking about hundreds of millions, maybe even perhaps billions of dollars for these big expansions that obviously have an ongoing revenue generation attached to them. They also require ongoing operational costs, maintenance, staff, and so forth. I think you could at least augment the attractions and shows that you offer at these parks on a more regular, ongoing basis than waiting for these next expansions that are spaced out several years. I think I'm not saying a low cost strategy in terms of it's low cost, more lower cost strategy is kind of my thinking, but I could be wrong, John. You could absolutely be right. I know that some of these equity actors are asking for a lot more money than they have been previously. Some are actually unionizing, which is very interesting, and how that's going to impact the parks. We're going to have to see on that.
Well, they don't want to get dressed in a dungeon, those ingrates.
Yes, that is true. We do have, let's see here. Let's see if I can get this up on screen here, because I think we have a little bit of breaking news, which means...
I hear that. I wonder if it's an elephant or a hippo.
It's the Imperial. It's the Imperial warning.
The Death Star. Come on.
Yeah.
Death Star.
Apparently, the next update on Epic Universe will come out May 2nd of 2024, and this should be Super Nintendo World. Now, I say should be because previously Super Nintendo World was going to be the first one that they debuted. However, Japan, who was also getting a Super Nintendo World full scale, was delayed a little bit, so that delayed the announcement. So it should be Super Nintendo World, but For more information on that, well, you're going to have to subscribe not only to this channel, but also to That Park Place. By the way, guys, 1,000 subscribers. We actually hit that milestone, I think, minutes before the show. So it worked out. But thank you so much to Bob, Matt, John, Lou, for joining me on this amazing program, because honestly, you guys have fueled this as much or maybe even more than I have. So thank you.
Well, congrats on 1,000.
Well,
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Congratulations.
Absolutely. 100% right there.
And,
We're going to have
as
to.
I said on the previous show, as wonderful as this has all been, we have less than 20 videos up so far. To get that kind of investment of attention and dedication and belief in us from 1,000 people in a couple of weeks says not only they like what they're seeing, but they think they're going to like what's coming. And I think they're right. But of course, don't ask me. I'm prejudiced.
It is pretty amazing to have this level of support for a channel that is brand new. I mean, we debuted literally like 3 weeks ago with content, and Lou is right. To have such limited amount of content, we will be expanding, folks. Trust me, we'll be expanding how many videos that we produce daily and so forth. It's just that we've had to kind of lay the foundation here for a little while, and it's taken us a little bit.
We've
more
had
time
to lock Vash in
like.
his editing room, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, Lou knows. I think on one. I think the first Hollywood Backlot with Lou and you, which by the way, we are taking your questions still. So if you have any questions, you can go ahead and send those to T3P online at yahoo.com. Please give us your questions for Lou as soon as you can, because we got to record the next one up here, I believe, on Thursday. But the first
Thursday? Okay, fine.
Yes.
That's what I was wondering was when the next one was going to be.
I think after That Park Place is a nice time. It's a nice time.
Yeah, that works. That works.
I think so. I think that first video took me like 6 hours to edit. So
I'll try to put fewer World War II leaders into it in the future.
Well, okay, less World War II, that's for sure. But because we get the trouble.
More cowbell, less Schickelgruber.
But no, I love the stories, Lou. Keep them coming, and name drop as much as you can, because I actually love putting in those photos in there. I think it really does do a lot for the viewers and providing those visuals for
and
people at
speaking
home,
of photos, we got a little glimpse of your screen earlier today of what you're doing with the genre guys, and you're working on The Sting, which was a great show for us to do, but you have really enhanced it with all the great photos from that wonderful movie. So
thank you, Lou.
And we just did Around the World in 80 Days, and in the next few days we're doing Roller Coaster as kind of a spare for the weeks when we might not be able to do one. And also we're doing, what are we doing next? I forget. But we have lots of good things. And as came out in the previous chat, some reference was made to the Three Seashells. One movie that's on our schedule for the future is Demolition Man. So talk about a range from Passepartout to Sly and Wes. So I think I called it Sly and Wes Make a Mess as my tagline. So
that's fantastic, Lou. I cannot wait. I can't wait to get my hands on that, because man, there's going to be some images in there that you can prompt.
Taco Bell
bank right there. Yes, yeah, we'll all be going to Taco Bell for sure. John, you have been very, very busy on the That Park Place website. Could you tell the viewers at home here what you've been working on, what you got going on?
Yeah, so we're still covering a lot of Stellar Blade stuff. We're covering the Warhammer stuff that's been happening. Games Workshop just doubled down earlier this week on the female Custodes. So I'm actually going to have a video up on that on the Trent Report. And then got an article up already on That Park Place. So we're just churning away. So
absolutely.
I remember 100%. Now what the next one is. It's Ocean's 11, the original.
Gotcha. So definitely, if you want to get access to that members-only content as soon as it comes out, please go ahead, go over and become a member on the WW Pro channel. And after 90 days, it will be on here. So stay tuned and subscribe for more for sure. Thank you so much, John, for coming on here today. Matt, what you got going on over there?
I write for a monthly Midwestern newspaper called the River Hills Traveler, and you can check out my latest short story called Starseed and the Beaver King at riverhillstraveler.com.
Great title. That sounds like fun.
It is. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah. It's a Native American folktale that takes place during the Ice Age, and it's set in a real place in Missouri, and I researched it. I spoke with a Native American tribe member, and I try to bring authenticity and fun to this story. So
Frozen meets Pocahontas? No.
Let's go with that. Yeah.
Yeah. The Ice Age.
Sounds cool.
Thanks, man.
Sounds great. Well, definitely. I will link to everybody's channels, including yours, John, including your the little racing channel you got there, which is so fun. Sure. Oh, yes.
They used to have a racetrack at Walt Disney World.
They did. They did. Mm. Oh, but the noise. That was what did that in, unfortunately. But it was huge. It was massive. Well, it was awesome.
The part of Beverly Hills where I grew up used to have a racetrack, and we're talking, probably in the 1920s and 30s, before they started building all the houses. And I remember my little next door neighbor working in her garden, finding pieces of clay from the track that used to be there. Oh. And that's, I'm talking right next to Fox backlot. So, anyway,
wow,
those were the days.
Good times.
Bob, what you got going on over there at Berry Place 28?
Well, I'm a theme park streamer, and I'll be at the parks tonight for Disneyland After Dark Star Wars event. So if you guys aren't doing anything, come join me tonight. And if not, you're always welcome to come join me in the theme parks. And I hope you guys have a great week. And since it is the week of May the 4th be with you, I know we're a little early. May the 4th be with all of you.
May the force be with you, good sir. But unfortunately, I think, let me see here. Yep, that's the music right there. That we should be outroing to right there. So, thank you so much for joining us on our 1K Celebratory stream, and thank you so much for making this possible. Again, you guys, your subscriptions, your support, everything has made this what it is. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I know a lot of people's hearts are with you as well. So thank you so much for that. Also, too, we've got new content here every single weekday right here. We've got new Hollywood Backlight with Lou and You coming out tomorrow. We've got also, too, the Genre Guys coming out on Fridays, so stick around for that. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share this video if you like this video, and, subscribe to That Park Place Podcast online or That Park Place for all the news that should be free.